You're listening to Changing Reality. Changing Reality, where we bend reality all across the world. Only on WQHS Radio. So, hi everyone, my name is Harsha and welcome to Changing Reality. So, it's been an amazing week since our last episode, since we last saw you. And with that, we are back once again on air with another phenomenal episode, with another phenomenal story to share with all of you. So as I said, my name is Harsha, aka DJ Harsh, and thank you once again for tuning in for today's show. Changing Reality is a show that features phenomenal people from all walks of life who are changing their own reality. And we'll be hanging out and interviewing social change makers, entrepreneurs, business owners, to even artists, musicians, and inspiring individuals from all across the world. And a few from the Penn campus here too. So we are going to be hearing these inspiring stories on how everyday people like you and me have begun changing the reality that they live in, while also listening to their stories of how they actually did that in their own capacities. And I wanted to do this show simply because I feel like there are a lot of people out there who do phenomenal things and make waves in the lives of others around them. And I'm super passionate about uncovering those stories and learning how people are changing the world with the resources that they have, and how many of them, like our speaker today, have actually achieved global heights and created global impact through the things that she's done. And personally, I founded and run a youth movement called Ascendance here in Malaysia, where I'm from, which collaborates here with the Malaysian Ministry of Education to provide an alternative learning platform for any student who wants to change their own reality. We work with students from elementary to high school through various projects, sessions, experiential learning activities to help them discover their passion, learn about themselves, and at the same time go out there and get the experiences that they need to come back and create their own careers. Create their own careers, not just for themselves, but careers that create meaningful impact for those around them too. To date, we've worked with about 6,000 students in 270 different communities and have incubated countless number of student projects and social enterprises run by students aged 8 to 21 years old. So if you have any questions about that, do drop it in the show chat below. I've been very fortunate through the work of Ascendance to actually be awarded the Diana Award for Young Changemakers in recognition of the social action and humanitarian work we did. And through this award and through my time here at Penn, I've had the lovely opportunity to actually connect with other phenomenal individuals all across the world who are changing the world around them too. And today we're meeting another fellow award winner from the Diana Award, who is an unstoppable force in creating a better world for all of us. We're talking to Shomy Chowdhury, who is the founder of Awareness 360, an award-winning global youth-led nonprofit that is also ironically headquartered here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So her startup actually empowers young people in over 23 different countries to do community service projects that are in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. They've worked with over 1,500 volunteers all across the globe and have impacted 150,000 people through their projects. And at the same time, other than the Diana Award, they've been recognized on many international platforms, from Global Citizen to Global Changemakers to the UNDP, UN Women, Samsung Global, to even the Commonwealth Youth Program, and so many others as well. Our lovely speaker today herself has received so much recognition, or hard-earned recognition, I'd say, for her social work. Having grown up and based in Bangladesh, she today has received awards from some of the top global leaders, most notably the President's Volunteer Service Award from President Barack Obama here in the US itself for her outstanding contributions to the communities, not just in Bangladesh, but as I said, all across the globe. She's also currently running for the Asia representative of our Commonwealth Youth Council. So we'll hear a little bit about that later and why she's the perfect person to represent all of us here in Asia. But for now, without further ado, I'd like to invite Shomy on the screen so that we can hear her amazing story from herself. So Shomy, welcome on the show.
Hi, Harsha. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yep, loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Harsha, for the lovely introduction and for inviting me to your show today. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very good, very excited to speak to you. I haven't slept all night. I was working, and it's 8 a.m. in my time. But I'm still feeling very energized and excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. My apologies on your lack of sleep. I think
No.
that just shows how hard you work, and I think you should
No,
be
it's just a
inspired to
very
do that.
overwhelming, a busy week. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And thank you. Thank you again for having me. How are you
Thank you so
feeling? How
much.
are you doing?
Good. I did sleep for a few hours. It's 10 a.m. here in Malaysia, so I'm a little bit better. And I think I'm just really excited to hear your story. For all of you watching, Shomi's actually been someone who's personally inspired me to work a little bit harder and to push the limits wherever I can, because I just feel like she's someone who just really cares and does whatever she can in so many different capacities. So I think a lot of people have been so excited to meet you. When we sent out the RSVP form to get in questions, there were so many individuals who responded. A lot of them are watching today. I think many of them stalked you on Instagram and told me a little bit about your story and how amazed they were. So be careful, Shomi. But other than that, I think with the introduction, with the many things that we'll uncover in this session, a lot of people have this question: how did you even start all of this? Where did all of this even begin? I know you gave a TEDx talk at the University of Putra, Malaysia, called "Finding Your Passion in Something That Bothers You," and this was all the way in 2018. But your journey actually starts way before that, right? So,
Yeah.
how did you actually begin? You are a leading figure in the water, sanitation, and hygiene field. But
Sure.
where did it start?
Well, thank you for the question, Harsha. Well, my whole volunteering work journey started quite early on. So I was about 13 years old when I started doing volunteering work in my country. So right now I'm 26 years old. So it's been over 13 years. And my initial inspiration was from my dad. So my father works at he's a Rotarian. So I grew up seeing him doing different kinds of community service work. So I have like photos of, like us going to events together, doing stuff together. So I guess that is where my initial inspiration came from. And yeah, and on the other hand, my mom used to be a very good singer, and she was a cultural enthusiast, and she would like me to do different kinds of stuff and get me enrolled into like music school, dance school, art and craft, like too many things really. So in my school life I have done pretty much like from debate to drama to science fair. I was like an all-rounder kind of student. I used to do everything. But all of these experiences helped me to get this scholarship by the US State Department. It's called the YES program, Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange and Study Program, which helped me to go to the US. So under that program, I went to Michigan to do my final year of high school, my senior year of high school, as an exchange student. So while I was there in Michigan, that is really where my community service went to a bigger or a larger extent, I would say, because when I was back home doing community service, it was sort of, at the time, it wasn't really, I might sound too old right now, but back in the days, it wasn't as common. So people would still have a mindset where they would think volunteering is sort of a waste of time and all you should do is, study and make sure you get good grades. But when I went to the US, that is where I found that people really take volunteering or community service as a very important part of their life, of their lifestyle. And we were, in fact, tasked to do at least 40 hours of community service. So that was one of the program requirements. And I was placed under this organization called Program of Academic Exchange. So it was a PACS requirement that I would have to do 40 hours of community service. And the objective behind this requirement was, to thank the host community for hosting us, right? And as I was doing different kinds of community service activities, I really found the joy in it. Like, it's such a fulfilling feeling, right? And as I was spending time with different kinds of communities, doing all these different kinds of volunteering work, I loved it so much that whenever I would get an opportunity, I would sign up for it. And then at one point, by the end of the year, I ended up doing 460 hours of community service, which became a record. So that got me recognized by President Barack Obama with the President's Volunteer Service Gold Award and an appreciation letter from the White House. Now, that was a very important moment for me because I felt like, yes, I came to the States, I did all this volunteering work, and you know, as a gesture to thank my host community, my host family for hosting me, which was great. I even got the award from the president, which is also nice. But what about my own country, you know, where I was, that has been hosting me ever since I was born, right? So I was born and brought up in Bangladesh. That is where I truly belong. And so I never like consciously thought of, you know, doing something for my country, right? Like, yes, I have done activities, but it was more like co-curricular activities, but I never thought it in this way. So that is really what motivated me to, you know, get more involved. So when I came back to my home country, Bangladesh, I got myself involved with different kinds of organizations, both national and international. And for example, I got elected as the executive committee member of Yes Alumni Bangladesh Association. I got enrolled in a business school here. I was in part of different clubs. So I was doing as much, you know, as much as I could. Like my friends used to tease me that I hardly have time to hang out with them because every weekday or every weekend after class, I would have something to do. But the thing is, at the time, I just loved volunteering. So I was doing a bunch of stuff, right? I didn't have any particular focus. So I worked on projects related to, you know, youth empowerment or women empowerment, youth leadership, different kinds of things, a little bit of health as well. But I guess at the time, I still did not find my passion or my true calling, you know, the legacy that you want to leave behind. I haven't thought of it that way at the time. It's just that I love volunteering and I would just sign up for stuff and spend time with these communities. Until 2014, on 14th of April, the most tragic event of my life happened. Unfortunately, my mom died from diarrhea and she was sick for just one day. And 14th of April actually it's the Bengali New Year's Day, and it's the biggest festival of the country. And this day is extra special for our family, or used to be extra special for our family, because this is the day when my dad met my mom for the first time many years ago. And we as a family love celebrating this kind of days, so this one was extra special. Anyway, so my mom actually went to work even the day before. She used to work at a bank, and then. And everything was fine, and then the next day she's dead, just like that. So it was absolutely shocking, and obviously, for obvious reasons, we were devastated. Myself, my entire family. I just could not accept the fact that someone can actually die from diarrhea. Yes, we hear about statistics here and there, but I guess it hits you hard when it's someone close to you. And for me, it was the most important person in my life. And when you lose somebody you love, or someone who is important to you, it is difficult. It is already difficult. But when you know that you lost somebody from a preventable disease, like this could have not happened, that is just unacceptable. And that regret is going to haunt me all my life. And I was obviously going through a lot, and I figured that my mom is actually a very tiny part of a huge statistic, a very staggering one. In Bangladesh, in fact, 45,000 people die from diarrhea every year. And this is not just something that is related, I mean, that is within the boundary of my country, but it is a global issue. And diarrhea, cholera, these kind of preventable diseases, these are all like symptoms, right? These are not really the cause of things. So as I sort of did a bit more research, I found out how important water, sanitation, and hygiene, or WASH, the acronym WASH, is in saving lives. And diarrhea, in fact, is the second leading cause of death for children under age of 5 globally. And I was even more shocked to find that 4.5 billion people, which is more than half the world's population, 60% of the world's population, don't have access to safely managed sanitation. And sanitation, hygiene, access to clean water, all of these are intricately linked to all these different diseases that people are dying from. And at the time, I was going through a lot, and I felt like it it's sort of like COVID-19, it's not enough that you yourself are safe. Your surrounding people around you also have to be safe. And the wash case is similar to COVID-19. Myself, like I come from an educated background, from a good family. We have access to toilets. We had access to clean drinking water. My mom knew how to wash hands, yet she contracted diarrhea. How? Because probably somehow maybe a street food vendor, somehow she got contracted, maybe on her way back home from work the day before. And she, in fact, on the note of how that day was very special, she actually did shopping for all of us, the entire family, my dad, my sister, my grandparents, except for her. And I don't know, it's probably a coincidence, but and then she told me and my sister that, Shomy, if you don't, tomorrow early morning, if you guys don't wake up early, because we usually tend to sleep in when it's a holiday, and she was like, if you guys don't wake up early to attend, as I told you, like she used to be a very culture enthusiastic kind of person. She was, and usually on New Year's Day there's like a cultural events that starts like really early on, like right after sunrise or something. And then she was like, if you guys don't wake up early, I'm just gonna go on my own. And she really did. She left forever, and I just could not accept this. And I felt like, if I, coming from an educated background, if this is what happens to my family, and I was so ignorant about all of this, what about those vulnerable, marginalized communities who don't have access to, sanitation or awareness, or just basic education? What about those communities, right? So that is really what motivated me to become a WASH activist. And as a matter of fact, my first WASH talk, the one that I did, was 4 days after my mom's death, at a sewerage workers community. And the sewerage workers community are considered as very isolated part of the society, and they're often considered as untouchable or unclean because of the work they do. And I felt this is such a disgrace that we don't acknowledge the significance of their work. And I felt like they are the ones who need to know about these things first. So as I was doing that WASH talk, right, talking about hand washing and sharing my story, at that time, it was only 4 days after this incident, the pain was very new. It was very raw. And it was very difficult for me to actually go up on stage and hold the mic and tell people to take WASH seriously. But at the same time, it was also a moment of realization for me. And I felt the incredible power of storytelling. Because when I tell you a huge number, usually people can't connect to statistics that much, right? But when I share one story, a personal story of a mother, a daughter, it's easier for people to connect to it. It's easier for people to place themselves in other people's position, in other person's position, and probably you think of your mom or your daughter or your dad or somebody you love, right? And then when you sort of zoom out and see the macro situation, how this exact same story times 4.5 billion people, that is when you truly understand the gravity, the magnitude of the problem. So I realized that incredible power of storytelling, as well as the potential impact that I could bring through these WASH talks, which is why I decided that, no, this is really what my passion is. And that is why, as you mentioned, that in my TEDx talk, I mentioned, find your passion in what bothers you, because usually we tend to connect passion with something good, but we can also find our passion in something that is bad, something that hurts you, something that makes you angry or bothers you so much that you won't rant about it, but you will also take action. So that is really what I did, and that is how, sort of in an unplanned way, I came into the water, sanitation, and hygiene space, and I continued my activism ever since.
Okay, thank you for sharing, and I think I speak for the whole audience when I offer my condolences. And it's very inspiring that you got to work immediately after that. You tackled the problem at the root cause itself. And one of the quotes that I found from you actually in one of your many media features is you actually mentioned on how you went about hooking these communities to start with. And you said these people, they are working with sewage and are completely cut off from the rest of the world, even though they are situated in the middle of town. And they are the ones who need to know about sanitation and hygiene first. And that's why you chose them as the location for your first WASH talk. How did you actually get in touch with this community? How did you pull together the resources to immediately start tackling down the problem, in a sense? I mean, within a week, it's not something that I think most people do. But how did you manage to start working on it so fast? And where did you go to first? What was the first thing you did, in a sense?
So actually, so as you read in the news feature, that this this community was situated in the middle of the town, and my first school, the school that I went to, was actually in that town. I was near, like I would have to sort of cross that bridge and then go to my school every day. And I would always notice, and I know that this is sort of a community that I've never been inside, but I know that there is something, right? And I would always question, like in my when I was a kid, I would always question, like, what is this? Like, it's literally in the center of the town, but we usually sort of ignore this part, right? And then, as I told you, like, my initial inspiration was from my dad, and my dad actually gave me those values of, empathy, treating people with respect, regardless of their background, their socioeconomic status, or whatever their background is, or how they look, how they sound, their ethnicity. So these are some of the learnings that I received from my parents very early on. And my dad works at the fisheries department, and he used to manage this farm where one of these storage workers used to work for my dad's farm. And he actually invited, even many years back, he invited us to his daughter's birthday party. And in general, probably someone of my dad's stature or rank would probably not visit, that community in general. But my dad said that no, just because he is a storage worker doesn't mean that we will have to, decline his invitation, and he would be really happy. And he happens to be the first boss who actually visited his house. And then he was really happy when we visited his community, his daughter's birthday party. And that was the first time that my dad, my entire family, my mom, my dad, we went. That was the first time I could see what like the inside looked like. And I had that sort of in my mind, even beyond that, like many years after. So I knew about the situation, how it's like, how they're not very aware about sanitation, hygiene, etc. And on the other hand, I was very lucky to receive the support of Yes Alumni Bangladesh Association. And so, as I told you, like right after I came back from the US, I got elected as one of their executive committee members, and I was very actively involved with them. And that also happened to be the Global Youth Service Day during that time in April. And the IRNB, the International Education Resource Network Bangladesh, and Yes Alumni Bangladesh, they supported me with grants. So I had that, and also I had some wonderful volunteers, some friends, some colleagues who supported me throughout. And in terms of making the connection, going to the community, that was easier because of that previous connection that my dad had, in terms of going or reaching out, and so they knew about it. So that is why it was easier for me to do the project, even though I was going through a lot emotionally at the time. But yes, I'm very thankful to all of these organizations and to all the people who helped me during that time. I mean, it meant a lot, and it still means a lot to me.
I think that hear that, and I think that the part of it that really inspires is that you didn't go and try to fix a problem far from home. You literally saw what is the new, what do I know about this? Where do I start? And you chose some place that you had a connection with. And I feel like,
and I was actually there already because my mom was buried there. That's my grandparents' place. So my mom was buried there. So that's why. And I have because that's where I sort of grew up. So I have that emotional attachment to that place. So that is why I wanted to start off with that hometown as well.
Yep, and I think that is a very heartwarming thing to hear, in a sense that you went back to your community and you started there first. And once again, my condolences, but I think you've taken it from there to today heights, which have impacted so many people, has saved so many lives in a way through your work. So you did this first talk, you had this, you shared your story, and many people would just leave it at that. They would say, I've done my job, I've paid it forward. But you didn't stop, you continued and you progressed from there. So what did you do next? What did you feel after the talk, and what was your next step, in a sense?
So that as I told you, that I was not even expecting what I would learn from that talk. And after that talk, I was reflecting on it, and I had many light bulb moments, wow, yes, people actually need this knowledge, right? And we did this this trash mob, because in 2014 something called flash mob was very popular, at least in Bangladesh. I'm not sure how it was in other countries, but like every university team would suddenly do like a dance with this certain song, and they used to call it a flash mob. And that is when we did the trash mob, where we asked the community to clean up. It was a competition that how many trash people can collect. So we divided them into different families, and they were collecting trash, and the before and after pictures were very remarkably different. And it also got them thinking that, wow, we actually can make our communities clean in like an hour, right? And then we gave some prize money to the winning family, and the winner was actually a very young boy. I think he was about 9 years old or something. And he and his mom, and his mom is blind. So we gave him the money, and we asked him, like, what would you do with this money? And he said, I'm going to take my mom to the doctor. And all of these like little moments or these little anecdotes, right? These things really affected me emotionally. I could realize once again how privileged I am, and also how important these WASH talks are. And I realized that there are so many other communities, not just this one, and I can't stop right there because it wouldn't be fair to these communities, because now I know that I have to do this. So which is really what motivated me to continue on and not just stop with that one WASH talk. And a few months down the line, I met my best friend, my now best friend in college. His name is Rizvi Arifin, who is my co-founder of Awareness 360. So we met, and he also was active in the volunteering space, and how WASH is my passion. For him, he was also passionate about WASH, but also about like mental health and child protection, things like that. Like he had like his own quality education, different other topics that he was passionate about. So this one day we were just having a very friendly conversation at this burger joint, and then we were talking about each other's passion, and then we were like, hey, you know what, like how you and I used to work in different like organizations or initiatives, we were involved in it, right? And then we sort of picked up skills from different events. Like I learned this from here, that from there, and through these experiences, years of experiences. And that is another reason why it was sort of easier for me to do that first project and so early on, is because I didn't have to do everything from scratch. Like those skills I already had in me, because I started volunteering way back. It's just that I didn't have any particular passion. So all I did was I sort of, I used my skills, my experiences for that one direction, like towards that one direction, which is WASH. So I was talking to my friend, and we were like, maybe like just like you and me, there are other young people who also want to do stuff for their community. They also may have their own passion area, but maybe they don't know how to start, where to start. Like you and I have picked up things from here and there through these years of experiences, but maybe they haven't had this opportunity. So why not we build a platform where we will get all these young people who really want to do something, and we will give them those skills. So instead of imposing our passion on them, we wanted to teach them how to identify their own passion and help them build their own social action projects. So instead of feeding them ready-made fish, we want to teach them how to fish. So that is really how, from a very friendly conversation in a burger joint, we decided to co-create Awareness 360. And the reason why from the very beginning we had the name that was given Awareness 360 by Rizvi, the reason behind we wanted to raise awareness about different kinds of social issues and sort of go 360 degrees, so we wouldn't work on one particular issue only. And another thing is going global, so not just being centered around Bangladesh, for example. And the reason behind this is because both of us believe in global citizenship and intercultural understanding. We have met different people from different parts of the world, and we really felt the fun in meeting different people from other countries and learning about different cultures and traditions. And we wanted that. And we knew that there are issues which are common. We have different shared goals, shared problems. And if we could bring that platform, and where we can bring people from different countries together, young people can share each other's ideas and can work on projects together, or share their thoughts and collaborate on projects maybe. So with that mindset, we decided to start Awareness 360. Even though we started very small, just with a couple of people, along the line, we have, in the past 7 years, we've come a long way. And now we're working across 23 countries, We have empowered over 1,500 young people, and we don't just like arrange projects and say come volunteer, but we teach them how they can come up with their own projects, and how they can empower more young people to volunteer with them. So that was really the idea behind Awareness 360. So that is how it all started.
I think that's brilliant. I feel like you said, the first part was a lot on how many of us, I feel, many people wait to find what they're passionate about and then they start, in a sense. You just started doing volunteerism. And then when you found the thing that you wanted to focus on, those skills that you already had from your prior experiences, enabled you to do it effectively, enabled you to actually grow in it. So it's kind of like you didn't wait for lightning to strike. You got to work and then you made the most out of the opportunities you had. And when it came time to work in to promote water sanitation, you were able to excel in it because of those experiences. When you eventually came up with Awareness 360, you had the resources to carry it because of your prior experiences. And I think that that's brilliant, and more people need to hear that. And the second part of what you said that was very interesting is about, which is something that Ascendance believes completely, and we work with students to do as well, is getting people to become aware of what their passion is, what is the problem they want to tackle, and creating their own social project to take the reins, in a sense, and tackle that issue heads on. And I think that I love that you guys do this, and I love that you guys do this at such a global scale. But how did you even come about the methodology to trying it out? Like for Ascendance, it was completely through trial by fire and trial and error of working with students. Did you guys have a similar experience, or did you reflect on your own experiences in coming up with this methodology?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of methodology, definitely like the first 2 years, we have just done very small scale projects and, just trial and error sort of thing. We were not even very active on like social media. We've really learned by doing, and now we are like, if we look back and we see how we do stuff now and how we even handle projects, situations now versus how we used to do it back then, it's completely different. So obviously we have learned a lot along the process. And even though, yes, we did have prior experience, we leveraged on that, but still running an organization on our own, that's like a completely different experience. Like it's there is stuff that I never did before. So definitely it was also a learning experience along the process. We learned, we grew. In terms of methodology, we wanted to really, at first we wanted to find the right people. It's so important that you have a good team. Otherwise it's really difficult to, to pass on that message to a broader scale. So what we did is we recruited some people who we call the country ambassadors. So these are the people who are comparatively more competent with some leadership experience, so that they can, we don't have to do everything from scratch with them. And then we sort of came up with like, our organization follows a flat hierarchy system, and when it comes to like sharing ideas and all, but just for easier communication or easier management, we sort of had like, pyramid system where we have at first the country ambassador, and then the country ambassador will work with a group of people who are called the core members, and then they would organize projects where volunteers can come and volunteer, gain some experience, and then they can also join as core members where they gain those skills to organize their own projects. So that is really how we worked. In terms of our projects, right, like for example, sanitation and hygiene projects, this is something we have been like continuously doing since the very beginning. It has been our focus area, but we used the SDG framework very extensively. So we basically give an overview of the SDGs to our members, and then they decide like, okay, which problem that they really want to solve. What is that one SDG target? Because usually what happens is, when we talk about SDG, yes, many people know about SDGs, but all they usually know is, okay, there are 17 sustainable development goals, but they don't really go deeper. Like, okay, for goal 6, there's 6.1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, right? Like there are so many other subdivisions, targets, and indicators. And how do we simplify those terms, so that we understand our role in contributing to the achievement of these SDGs? Because most of the time people think, oh, SDGs are all about like high-level people, like world leaders and governments, UN, right? Like we usually don't understand how we also have a role to play in our everyday lives through our everyday actions. So that is really what we try to leverage on. So we try our members to understand their role in advocating for these SDGs, and then they choose which SDG. They don't have to do and like change the entire world at once. It is not possible. So we encourage people to start small, but starting immediately. That is what we emphasize on. So they have been working on climate change, on quality education, raising fund, for example, to pay for some underprivileged school children who were dropouts, paid for their entire school year fee. They did different fundraising events to do menstrual hygiene workshops, human rights forum, different kinds of SDGs really that they were aligning their projects with. In terms of sanitation and hygiene, we have a sort of, yes, we started with the storage workers, but now we're working with like the sex workers community, the refugees. Bangladesh has the world's largest refugee camp at the moment. So we started working with the refugees, with the water gypsies, like the under-resourced school children, people with disabilities, people living in slums, in pavements, homeless people. Like we really try to identify those communities who are usually left behind, or most often like the people hardly even think about them. But that is what we do. Like we would go to them, we interview them, we do focus group discussions, pre-project surveys to really understand their level of awareness when it comes to sanitation and hygiene, and then accordingly we design our projects. So our delivery method will also be different. When we are, for example, doing a wash talk at a sex workers community, we usually speak in local dialect so that they feel more connected to us instead of using like the formal Bengali language, for example. We would play like hardcore Bangladeshi music, maybe a genre that is not of my personal taste, but something that they are usually used to. So we would let them dance and really breaking the ice, so that they feel more comfortable to talk to us or to listen to us. On the other hand, in contrast, when we are going to a school, we would probably use like some animated videos, to really inspire them, and through games and quizzes, we would try to deliver the same message, but the delivery method is different. And of course, like once the project is over, like following up with them at least via phone, and making sure that they're not just learning things, but also applying those learnings. Like there's a behavioral change. Because everyone pretty much knows it's important to wash hands, but how many of us do actually wash our hands following that 7 or 8 steps technique while we're washing our hands, right? So that is the thing that we are ultimately trying to achieve. And we also try to create a value for wash, where we don't want people to just think of wash as something to invest on so that you don't die early or you don't get the diseases. It's way more than health. It's related to your economic development as well, because all these communities, right, they're in extreme poverty. They have to choose whether they will buy the next bar of soap or they will afford their next meal. That is the kind of communities that we're working with. So for them it is difficult, and shifting mindset is a long-term process, and it's difficult to make them understand why they should invest in a bar of soap, while maybe sacrificing a little bit on the meal part. It's really difficult for us even to tell them that, right? And which is why we're also trying to focus on the policy side of things. Yes, working at the grassroots level, trying to make them understand the true long-term economic impact of WASH, because it's proven by research, by WHO, in fact, is that if you invest $1 in sanitation and hygiene, the return is $4. So it's fourfold the return. The economic impact is huge. And it's because you'll be more productive as a nation. There will be reduced healthcare cost. So it's really good for them to help them come out of extreme poverty. So that is the value of WASH we're trying to create in these communities. On the other hand, we are taking these experiences at the grassroots level to the world leaders. When we meet like important people, the world leaders, the policymakers, the decision makers who are sort of controlling the investment in the WASH sector, we try to share our experience with them, trying to influence them to increase their investment in the sanitation and hygiene space globally, because currently the level of investment is not enough. We need 3 times more than the current level of investment in order to achieve the SDG 6 goal by 2030. So we are really lagging behind. So that is also on the other side, we're trying to sort of achieve, that really sharing our experiences, because these world leaders will probably never go to these communities to speak to them, and these communities will never get the chance to speak to these people, right? So that is where we come in, and we try to become like we sort of try to build a bridge and share our experience and try to motivate them why they should prioritize WASH globally.
I think that is people should follow that model of working. I feel like many times we try to approach things at the high level. We try to approach ministries, leaders, business owners who control most of these things without having done the grassroots work. And I feel like that kind of like puts us at a disadvantage. But the thing about you that I find so inspiring is you didn't wait for them to change. You went and made the change first, and then you went in a way hand in hand with the experiences you got from being on the ground with these communities, and you brought those experiences to them. As you said, I'm sure most of them can't really spend the time to go and visit each and every single community, but I feel like as citizens we have that capacity that we can connect these two things, I'd say. And recognizing our privilege and our ability to do that, I think gives us that opportunity to actually see that we can make a change. And I also loved your approach to kind of like localizing the things that you do, making sure that it's that the information itself is presented in a way that it's accessible, that is understandable for the communities that you're in. I feel like that is so important. So you go, number one, on the ground, make sure that they get it, that they can understand it in a way that's comprehensible to them, that they see the economic benefits of that, and then you take these experiences of the impact you've created and you go to a global stage, or you go to kind of like the people who are policymakers. And approaching this separate community, I wouldn't say community, but approaching the separate group of individuals who are the more affluent, who are the ones in charge of actually the economic sectors making changes and things like that, is a whole different ball game from approaching the communities that we work with. And I speak from experience in a sense. How did you go about even finding these people in charge? How do you go about holding them in a sense accountable and educating them about the issues and the lessons that you have seen, having known that they may not experience it at all in their lifetime in a way? How do you approach that?
Right. I guess this is time when I start wearing my other hats, not just the Awareness 360 hat. So I'm very lucky and blessed to have been acknowledged or recognized with different international platforms who have that power or that influence. For example, Global Citizen is one. So I am the ambassador or the advocate, WASH advocate from Bangladesh for Global Citizen. And what Global Citizen does, it's an advocacy organization based in New York, and what they do is they connect people through the power of music, and they make sure that everyone, mass people, they're taking actions, asking for demanding action from their minister. They can sign petitions, tweet to their minister, to their senator, whoever is relevant. So they take action, and then those petitions, for example, will be presented to that certain policy maker, decision maker, and say that, look, 60,000 people wanted this and that, right? So through that, for example, I had the opportunity to talk about and share my experience back in 2017, for example. That is one of the biggest speaking opportunities I've gotten, where I spoke about my experience of addressing a crowd of over 60,000 people in Central Park, New York. And that was attended by tons of prime ministers and presidents and ministers and really high level influential people. And when I attended different kinds of policy meetings or policy forums, high level meetings, I get to meet these people. That is when I use those opportunities to share my experience at the grassroots, so that they feel they understand where I'm coming from. For example, in 2018, I was invited to Pakistan as the international election observer, as part of the Commonwealth Observer Group. So I was invited by the Secretary General of Commonwealth, Right Honorable Patricia Scotland. So while I was in Pakistan, my duty was to do the election, observing the election, whether everything is going on perfectly or not. And we were the team was divided into, we were deployed to different parts of Pakistan. So I was deployed to Faisalabad. And that is where we observed the election on the election day, and then we came back to Islamabad for a debrief. And while I was there, a fun fact about me is I collect photos of toilets wherever I go. So I have a collection of toilet pictures, and I use those for my advocacy work to show people how something as basic as toilet, how privileged we are, and how different it can be based on where you're from. So just by habit, for the sake of my hobby, I was also checking out the toilets of the different villages that I've visited, the different schools which were used as polling stations during my visit. And I took photos, and some of those were like extremely horrible. And I knew that this is my chance where I felt that it is. And I spoke to the voting the polling station, whoever was in charge, right? And I was talking to them. I saw voters waiting in scorching heat for like 2-3 hours. And like old people. The lady who was in charge of the polling station was a pregnant lady. She could not go to the toilet the entire day. And even though my direct role was not to go and check whether people have access to toilets or not, but because I'm a WASH activist, it just came on naturally, right? And so when I spoke to her, I felt really bad, and I felt that no, I have a responsibility to talk about this. And I felt that no matter like wherever the election is, election commissions should ensure that for voters and polling station officers, like whoever is related to the entire electoral process, they should provide access to clean water and toilet to the basic minimum to all these people. So when we came back to Islamabad for a debrief, and we were working on our report that was to be shared with publicly as well as with the Pakistan Election Commission, I was championing for that recommendation, so that is passed for that report. It was very important, but maybe all of them, my team members, were not very much on board with the idea in the very beginning, because they thought that it is not directly related to election, right? Which is normal for them to think about it. But then when I showed those photos and when I really made my point, they understood that. And for the first time in that report, this recommendation was passed, which is provision of water, clean water, and toilet. And it was recommended to the Pakistan Election Commission. Now this was an opportunity that was not even directly placed to me, but I made the right use of it somehow, right? And that is like a monumental achievement for me, I personally. On the other hand, when I was in Fiji attending the Commonwealth Conference of Education Ministers, there are like incredible people, like super high level, and there was this session called I think it was titled something like "Who Are We Leaving Behind?" And I knew that this is my chance. I need to, take the mic and share who we really are leaving behind, because these are the people I'm working for, I'm working with. I have been there, I've seen that myself. So the first thing, I took the mic and I said that the people who we are leaving behind will probably never come to a fancy Sheraton hotel like this. I sort of use sarcasm, but then I try to make my point that the people that we're leaving behind, and then I raised the point about modern slavery and how they're being victims of human trafficking, and so many other issues also came up. So these are some opportunities. Maybe not all the time people will say that, oh, come and talk to this minister and talk about your experience, but sometimes you just have to see that opportunity and take that, have that courage to really go and speak up. So that is, I guess, what I have been trying to do. At least.
Part of your story that I think we all need to pay special attention to is the fact that you don't just wait for a direct opportunity. You make every opportunity matter in a sense. So whether it's directly or indirectly related to your work, because of the way, I guess, you're wired in a sense, you make the most out of it. And that is why you're so effective. That is why you're actually making policy changes, not just for Bangladesh, not just for your advocacy work here in Malaysia, but in all around the world. And I guess my question for you, based on your model of how you operate, based on your highly localized and yet your global impact, I would have to ask, how do you find people like you? Like, I mean, Awareness 360, you mentioned that you've got all these community leaders all across the world, 23 different countries. Where did they come from? Did you clone yourself and dress yourself differently and send you to 23 different countries?
Or like, so I'm so proud. No, in the past several years, I am so proud to see that young people, we have like, look at yourself, for example, right? Young people are doing extremely inspiring stuff all around the world. So it's really about giving them the opportunity and inviting them to join the movement that you're leading or you're creating. So for me, it was really that simple. Like all we did was people resonated with our story, with our values, with our projects. They have seen the kind of work that we are doing. And I guess that is really what motivated them to join our organization. For example, like just the other day, we closed the recruitment for our summer internship program, and our target was having like 100 applications to the most, because we would only take like 25 to 30 interns at max, and then the applications we got was 645. And now we said we will get back to the shortlisted people in a week, and we just don't have the time to go through all the applications in a week because it's so many. But I guess we're very thankful to all the young people who really follow us, and who really try to join our movement. Like all the time we keep getting messages that they want to join us, but unfortunately we can't have everyone, even it's out of our capacity. So we have like a certain, like for example, our annual recruitment for members is in October, and then now we're doing internship recruitment in every summer. Yeah, but we're just so happy to see that there's so much inspiration, so much drive and motivation among young people. So we wish we could have even more, but we're really trying to make the most out of the passion and drive of these young people.
Okay, that's very nice. It's very nice to know that more people like you just waiting to start advocacy, just waiting to tackle global problems wherever they can, wherever they are in this world. And I think that brings us to my final question for you today, which is actually, or maybe one of my final questions, which is actually, recently you've been doing something, again, amazing, again, groundbreaking. You're contesting for the Asia rep position of the Commonwealth Youth Council. And first of all, sub-question, why? Don't you do enough, Shomy? Don't you have enough like stress and partake with all of the different things you do? Now you're like, nope, I can still have more responsibility and change even more lives. I'm in awe, but and I'm especially in your time management skills, but why did you decide to run for this position?
Thank you for the question, Harsha. So just for context for our audience, Commonwealth Youth Council is, or in short CYC, is the official voice for students in the Commonwealth across all 54 countries. There are over 1.4 billion young people in the Commonwealth countries, and CYC is really is the official voice for these students. Now, the reason why I chose, or I wanted to contest for this Asia representative position for CYC this coming elections is because I have been involved in the Commonwealth youth space for quite a while now. I'm actually the current Asia representative of the Commonwealth Students Association. So under the Commonwealth Youth Program, there are different thematic networks. So for the Students Association, I have been serving as the Asia representative, and also I'm a Royal Commonwealth Society Associate Fellow. I've been serving in the Commonwealth Youth Forum that is happening in June in Rwanda as their international task force member. I was leading the policy team and also helping in the programs team. Now, with all these different experiences, I have identified some gaps and some challenges that exist within the space, right? And I felt that given all my prior experiences and the network, the resources that I am blessed to have, and I think that I could, with all these experiences and resources, I could mitigate some of those gaps and challenges, which is really why I wanted to contest for this position. And also, I've seen a bit of lack of, or not a lack, I would say there's a potential, there's an opportunity of greater collaboration among young people, and which is really why I thought that if I'm there, yes, of course, time management is definitely something to be concerned about. But the thing is, I have whatever I am proposing in my manifesto, that this is what I'm going to do, and these opportunities are not only going to benefit the community, the young people in Asia, but also the other regions of the Commonwealth. So pan-Commonwealth is going to be beneficial. And the reason why I'm not as concerned about my time management, or because I have so many other engagements, is because I really believe in collaboration, and all the items that I have put in my manifesto, these are the groundwork I already have been doing, which is why it's going to be, it's realistic. Like I have set my agenda quite realistically. So I really hope that the national youth delegates of 54 countries will vote me in for this position. But I will definitely be working for the Commonwealth space regardless. But yeah, I'm really excited about this entire process.
Well, you have my vote and my full confidence in you.
Thank you.
In making this happen. But final question. Tell us your vision. I'm going to assume that you've already won this seat and that you're already going out there and making changes. And how do you see using your role to actually create this global network, this, as you mentioned, Pan-Commonwealth collaboration among all of us here who want to do something? So paint us the picture that we're subscribing to, in a sense.
My vision for the Commonwealth, are you talking in terms of the election question, or is it just in general?
In general, what would you do with all
okay, so I definitely, my vision for the Commonwealth is definitely a Commonwealth where young people's voice will be heard in terms of policy, in terms of representation. I really believe in meaningful engagement of youths at a local level, at a national level, and at a global level, regional and global level, and not in a tokenistic approach. And I also hope to see greater collaboration, less competition and more collaboration, because our resources are limited. We can only do so much. So there is no point in duplication of efforts. We all want to do something good. All of the young people, we have something, a good vision for our Commonwealth. So it's really time that we work together. I definitely want to see, or I envision a Commonwealth which there will be greater solidarity, because there is a clear lack of global solidarity in the world, especially after the pandemic. We have seen that, like people fighting over toilet papers, like, come on, right? I mean, there are so many different ways over vaccines. We're seeing all these inequality. So I really hope to see a more equal, not just Commonwealth, but in general. I want to see a greater, a better world in terms of fairness, in terms of equality, where girls and women won't be subject to violence. Everyone will have their rights, basic human rights such as sanitation, hygiene, clean water. These are like people will have the respect for each other. People will be more empathetic, and people will embrace the differences. The Commonwealth, the entire world, is so diverse, and we should really, instead of picking on each other's differences, we should see it as something beautiful, and we should embrace that differences and be more tolerant towards each other's differences and live more peacefully. So that is really the Commonwealth and the world that I envision.
Okay, and we know you with your science at work will create this world for us. So thank you very much once again for the vision, for your lovely sharing here today, and thank you once again. I think that we have a lot of comments coming in about how they're very inspired, how they love the experiences that you share, and how their hearts and their salutes go out to you. So once again, where do we support? Where do we vote? What do we do, in a sense, for you?
Well, to support me, I mean, you can follow, if you want to join Awareness 360 or just follow our work, feel free to, follow our social media pages. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're pretty much everywhere. Feel free to check out our website, write to us if you have any idea, if you want to join us. And in terms of voting, that is not really open to public, unfortunately, but I do appreciate everyone's support, and of yours too, Harsha. So feel free to connect with me if you have anything to share or any question. I'd be more than happy to support.
Okay. With that, I think we'll close our interview for today. Thank you once again, Shomy. You have been truly amazing to talk to. And
thank you,
Harsha. Have a lovely,
incredible time. Thank you. And I would like to congratulate you and thank you. I'm very proud of everything that you're doing. I'm really happy that we got connected through the Diana Award, and you're doing fantastic work. And you're a great host, by the way. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you around. And hopefully we'll make a better world, all of us, the audience, you and me together. This has been Changing Reality. Thank you all. And thank you, Shomy, once again. See you guys next week, once again at 10 p.m. EST and wherever it is around the world that you're tuning in from. Bye.
You're listening to Changing Reality. Changing Reality, where we bend reality all across the world. Only on WQHS Radio.